Okay, guys, so welcome to the first of a Colin Reid podcast. It's a little bit different with everything going on at the moment, hence why we're not together, but future episodes I'm sure will be. But yeah, I'm joined with Colin Reid. Say hello, Colin.
Hi, Tate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thanks. How about yourself? Doing all right?
Yes, been very busy in this lockdown and with various projects, but most of it theoretical, and can't wait to get out on the grass at some stage.
Yeah, I think you're like most people at the moment, just kind of dying to get back on that pitch. But speaking of lockdown, what have you been up to then? Have you been focusing on any projects? I know you're at Millwall Ladies, technical director at the start of summer. I was wondering where everything's going with you.
Well, to be honest, as soon as lockdown started, I had a good sort out of the house, the shed, lots of other stuff, which you could see behind me. Got rid of a lot of files and folders. And then I've got the task of building a site. So I've got a project. I've got 2 or 3 projects on at the moment. One is we're about to launch something next year in terms of giving players the opportunity to possibly attend some sessions, coaching sessions, with a view to getting them or giving them the opportunity to maybe getting scouted, picked up, and really just signposting them to different clubs, maybe in different countries as well. So I've had to build content on a very comprehensive website because we're offering 5 different things. So that's one thing. Still in the process of building that content. Obviously, I'm also doing lots of filming in terms of we was about to film some stuff round about Easter, and obviously we couldn't do that now. So the planning that I was doing on the various topics, themes and subjects we were going to deliver, I sort of gave me more time to sit down and address them and write what practices we're obviously going to deliver. So yeah, they're all raring to go. So going back to the Millwall thing, I made the decision that, you know, I had other things to do that I want to concentrate and focus on more, and they wasn't really going in the direction that I would like to go, you know, the direction I'd like them to go in. So I thought, you know, give myself more time with projects that are going to be sort of ones for the future. And really, that's it. When I say that's it, it's still ongoing and there's still lots to do.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the uncertainty of it, what's going on in the world at the moment. Anyway, I think everyone's working out a slightly different path. But speaking for those that don't know, Colin has worked at various different clubs throughout the last 30 to 35 years, from different academy setups and Spurs and West Ham, more recently, like we spoke about, the technical director ladies role at Millwall. And now he's coming up with his own site with various different sessions on different themes, which would be great to see when everything gets launched. I've seen a few previews and it's looking pretty top notch. So this is just another kind of segment we're going to add for people that want to listen to it or see a few clips on YouTube. And I guess we're really speaking today about the UEFA B course that over the last few years it hasn't been running for different reasons, different counties. Then it got stopped with COVID and everything going on. But it's planned for October or later this year. And other counties, we're in Hertfordshire, that one's starting, but other counties all over England are going to be delivering. So Colin, just speaking about the course, like myself, I've been booked on it, but for those that aren't on it, kind of what's it about? Why should they go on it? And what are the main things to look out for if you're about to start that course?
Well, UEFA B, like all the FA courses presently, are on hold because of the current situation. So I'm envisaging time. I haven't sort of been instructed of when they'll commence. That you know comes from the powers that be. So obviously erring on the side of caution. Got to listen to the government and what they're saying in terms of when they think it's being safe. But you specifically asked about the B licence because I know that you registered on it. The B licence obviously is a course that sort of really is changed over the last, like many of the courses that the FA are delivering. So obviously UEFA B licence is level 3. Those that come on the B licence would have attended the level 2 beforehand. So the B licence is really, if you like, an extension of the level 2. So the things that you if you took a level 2 within the last sort of 3 or 4 years, 2016, the courses have changed in terms of we now actually go and actively go out to your club. So part of the criteria to be on the B licence is you would have completed your level 2, you would have gone through the process of application, and then obviously the counties would assess your application, and you get chosen on that. So what we do get sometimes is people that have come and done the old level 2, and then you've got the people that have done the new level 2 post 2016. So sometimes you get different learners with different sort of they've been through different pathways, but now we're all at the same pathway. So UEFA B now predominantly is, instead of being assessed, the word assessed, we talk about competencies around the England DNA and the pillars within there, and we will come out and do in situ visits to your club. So it's imperative that you've got a club, whereas previously and down the years you was assessed on the courses coaching other learners and other coaches. But now obviously we come to your club. So first and foremost, it's better in terms of that it's more realistic, because you are, if you like, coaching your players, you know your players, whereas previously you was coaching people on the course that you didn't really know. So yeah, there's been some progressions in that respect, and also predominantly it was really sort of intense in terms of the number of days, and I remember going back, you did 6 full days continuous. So as a tutor, when there was only one tutor on it, it was absolutely physically demanding. Psychologically, you was worn out. So what we do now, there is on UEFA B, there's different blocks. We call them blocks. So there's 4 blocks. Block 1 is 3 days, and then you go away, and then you would sort of work on and start to compile a project. And obviously, when you're away, you'll get a chance to put on some of the sessions that you may have seen whilst on block 1. So block 1 is 3 days, and then probably 2 to 3 months later, we have a second block of 2 days, and then there's a third block, again with that sort of rest in between, 2 days, and then finally another 2 days. So it's 9 days contact, but in addition to that, you've got at least 3 in situ visits. So your tutor who's mentoring you would come out and give you a visit in between blocks 1 and 2, also between blocks 2 and 3, and between blocks 3 and 4. So on the 4th block, if you like, you could be signed off, and you could be deemed that you are at that standard and call yourself a B licensed coach. So there's been some very positive things in terms of the new generation of courses.
Well, like you say, it's gone through quite a major change with how it used to be delivered, even how they had to coach the other people on the course, and now they're going and seeing more, like you say, realistic, how they're actually coaching their teams. I think that's their coaching environment. That's what everyone's used to. So it's probably the best way to assess them. And that's really where you really get to see each coach perform and what they need to improve, but also what they do well. So speaking about that, if you're on the course and you're someone like myself that's going to go on it, or there's people currently on it, that might be delayed slightly. What do you think are the main golden nuggets, you might say? What are the main coaching points that is different that you learn on the UEFA B that kind of stand out, might challenge a few people, the ones that there's just those 2 or 3 things that really focus on the in-depth coaching that you get within the B license that you might not get within your level 2?
Right, so you've hit on a number of things there, and like I said, it's all based around England DNA and the pillars there. So we talk about how we coach, how we play, the future player, and how we support. So from day one, the experience that you've already gained is invaluable. You do need a team and a side. You've obviously got one yourself. Some people might have that situation where you had a team and then you lose a team. So it is imperative that you've got a team. So what I would say, if you're going to come well prepared, is that you've actually been doing some coaching. You're aware of your players. So particularly in block 1, we talk about such things of having a, you might be at a club that has, if you like, their own ideas. So we're very much like, you as an individual have your own ideas. You could be at a club that lets you do your own thing, but we talk about, just such things of, having a, what do you think your thoughts are on football? Everybody comes now and go, oh, I need to have something that's from the modern game. You might get someone who's old school and their style of play is still very direct. So we don't judge and say you've got to coach this way, but you need your own thoughts and ideas on the game. Very much different from when I played. It was very much and delivered the coaching badge. It's very much you have to do it this way. So it's a lot more sort of based around player development, and we also talk about it being player led. So it's very important for the coach to develop their own ideas on the game. And like I said, it's not for me to tell someone this is how you should coach. They know their players better than me. You will get coaches that are coaching 9-a-side. I do believe, primarily you could be a coach that's working in 11-a-side. So there are similarities, obviously. So whilst it used to be primarily for 11-a-side, yes, whilst it aimed that, we take into account that some of the coaches are working at 9-a-side, and I believe some may have even in the past been working at 7-a-side. So we very much talk about philosophies in that, and we want people to develop their own philosophies on the game, and their philosophies will come from what their experiences were as a youngster, maybe if they played, or if the club they're at might have a certain philosophy. But again, it's for the coach to start to think about their philosophy on the game, and also very much talk about player profiling. What players need to do, or what attributes they need. So around your project, then you will start to sort of look at individuals within the units and the team, and start to look at the attributes that they've got. And such things as talking about focus players. What's the focus for this player? What things does he or she need to be working on? How can I help them develop into a better individual, therefore making the unit stronger, the unit they play in, and the team? As the course develops and we get into the further blocks, we talk about linking the units. So rather than working in isolation as an individual and focus player, we talk about linking units. So it might be a rear unit with a midfield unit. We talk about the units in terms of, and not just about the units, we talk about relationships between players laterally as well. So it's not just a rear unit, it might be sort of combinations on the side of the pitch. So lots of good things to think about. How it would differ probably from the level 2. Level 2, we'd like to think that you knew the individual technical detail of the various sort of technical aspects of the game. And then obviously when you get into level 3, they're not forgotten, because you need them. If you're going to work on a focused player, an individual player, you need to understand, how do they fit in. So if I'm a modern day central defender, I might need to travel with the ball, run with the ball, bring the ball out. I could get even higher up the pitch, and then we're talking about dribbling. So those things, hopefully you'll have a good understanding of. And then when you go into the B licence, it's combining and thinking, more around the team, but not forgetting the individual within the team.
Well, lots of things you touched on there. I think the main difference, like you were mentioning, it seems from the level 2, you understand that technical aspect, and you understand how to put on sessions, how to formulate quite good sessions. But going on to UFB, you find out a lot more kind of about yourself and your methodology and what you think about football and how you see the game should be played. And that's kind of what you learn more within UFB. And you spoke about your focus player linked to your primary unit, secondary units, and moving it across the pitch. So it's really interesting that this is kind of the next step. And I think, like you say, you have the old school, you have the new school. The thing with football, it's always changing, but there's no right or wrong way. There's always, if you can prove it, or if you've got a backing, if you've got an opinion, then there's ways to present that. So Just going on for that slightly further, for those like myself that are going on the course and things like that, you've spoken about your project quite a lot. Do you reckon you can give a quick overview of, at the end, what it might look like or how you present it back at the end of the course?
Yeah, it's a very personal thing. I've seen many projects delivered, and like I say, you've got old school who will physically write it, and then you'll get those that are very sort of techie, and they'll deliver a fantastic project. Your project is a presentation at the end. You present your project, but it will have various things on. So we'll also, it's a B license, you get an 18 game program, unless you've got a B license in terms of equivalent to the old youth mod qualification, where you'd have a 12 game program. So most people won't have that qualification, so they've got to deliver an 18 game program around plan, do, review. So your project would be your preparation for your game, and then obviously you'd observe your game, and then you would sort of debrief your players, and all that feedback that you've got within that 18 game program you need to record. As I said, plan, do, review, and it's really a long process. And you'll have such things in it. You might profile your players. This is Johnny. Johnny plays right-sided central defender. We play a system that's a back four, back three. You know, Katie plays as a left back. So it's for you to let us know about your players, looking at them, what you think they need individually to work on, but also collectively within the team, what things you think that you observe and you watch and you go, I might need to work on, you know, playing out from the back, playing through midfield. But I always say, look, you know your players better than me, but if you're doing an 18 game program, I think it's an easy suggestion is you've got 3/3 of the pitch. You've got in possession, out of possession and transition. So if you think about it, you could do playing out from the back or playing from this third into this third of one. Second one will be from midfield into the final third, and then you've got a second session. Then you might have a crossing and final third one. Yeah, so you've got 3 sessions there. And again, if you turned that round and you focused on defending from the front, maybe defending with a mid block, defending late, and then there's 6, and then you might want to work on the transition. So how do we counter attack when we win the ball deep? And then you've got another 3 there. And that's a suggestion. Like I say, we don't tell people what they have to do. It's not that prescriptive, other than you play in your 18 sessions, but make sure it's got a combination of in possession, out of possession, transition, into out, out to in. And then certain players might need it more than others. So it's a totally free choice. But your presentation, you know, talks about your journey from day one, where your thoughts come from, what your philosophies are on the game, why you think that. And like we say now, you don't have to copy any one of us. Be an individual, and, you know, if you like, not justify it, you know, what's your rationale behind why you've done what you've done. So I think there's been some good advancements in terms of what goes on the courses now. And the project is quite comprehensive. Seen some fantastic ones, but obviously then again, the practical side is really important, because it is a practical game. It's football still played on grass, so why it's good to have an understanding of the theoretical side, and in particular pillars and the plan, do, review, and how we can support our players to become better players. Very much when we talk about the future player, what does the future player look like? You know, what does she need to play as a left wing back? What do they need to be as a left winger or a left back? And again, it's about the system that you implement, and what you want to play. So I think a big thing of it for me is at the start of the course, and it's a major, I would say it's a major problem, but it's a major thing when I look on various sites and they talk about who's got any session plans. So session design and practice for me is imperative, because I see so many sessions that are devised in favour of giving success, which isn't bad initially because it'll give confidence, but they're unrealistic. So for me, the initial part of the course is talking about philosophies, but when you start off your practice, it's really imperative to make sure that your practice design is relevant to the players, and maybe position specific, so it can be related back to the players. So when they take it into the game, that there is some sort of, if you like, link between the practice that we do and the game, which is really massively important. And that's what I've been doing a lot this summer, designing a lot of practices, putting out a number of presentations on different systems to give people the bigger picture. And then obviously when you do your B licence or other coaching qualifications, is linking that detail, technical detail, the 1v1s, 2v2s, maybe getting an overload 2v1, and then being able to implement that and use that within the game.
Well, yeah, it just sounds fascinating how you really go into that much detail on what you're planning, and how you, I'm sure you see it, how they go through the change of first day of block 1 to last day of block 4, when you really see what they've taken on board. And I guess one of the main things as well, which you touched on at the end, you plan all this in possession, what you want to focus on as your team, but also you take a little bit of board of opposition, who you might play, they've played there before, what system they're implementing, how you might want to counteract what they're doing. I guess that's a key way of presenting your project at the end, but also as your team, it's going to help them on match days. So final kind of question for me is, any advice you would give someone that they might just be starting, or anything they can kind of do before to make them really prepared for the course, or if they're on it, it's something to really focus on when they're doing their session plans, you might say, or match days to look out for?
Yeah, I think if you can already start to assemble some sort of plan, do, review process. If you would have done your level 2 or level 1 introduction, you go on to level 2, you're thinking heavily about the planning. And we say initially that your planning should probably take as long as your session in the initial stages. But the biggest advice I'd give is, lots of the coaches come on to a course and, you know, they work in 11v11 and they can't actually replicate 11v11. And years ago, when you come on your B licence, we wouldn't do 11v11 on a B licence. We'd have maybe 10 versus 10, because 11v11 was always left for the A licence. So, as you've just said that, and rightly, I've got a tactic board set up. I would say if they're preparing to go onto a B licence, or even if they're not, that you have an idea, some systems. So I've got some stuff out there on YouTube, Colin Reid football coach. If you get onto that YouTube, there's a plug there. And presently I've done a 1-4-3-3 system. I'm presently putting a 1-3-4-3 system together. And within 5 or 6 weeks, I'll put every system up there in terms of how to coach the bigger picture, what I believe it looks like in possession, out possession. And it's only my ideas. Like I've said on there, some people can play the same system but play it slightly different. So for me, have an understanding of the system. More importantly, have an understanding of your players, but bring it back to practice design. And people years ago would have the bodies on the course and we would be able to assess them 10v10. Now we're saying is, well, when you go away from that, most people won't have those players. So I'll give you a little example now. You might want to work on playing out from the back, for example, or defending from the front. So if you look, we've got a full complement of players on there. And we're saying is, we talk about, and we use these expressions when you're doing your coaching badge, and even away when I'm coaching, we talk about primary players, players on the ball or around it. We talk about secondary players away, and we talk about tertiary players, players furthest away. So if I was looking at this, for example, I said, I want to work on playing out from the back. I'll flip it on its head in a moment to do defending from the front. Which players must you have? Well, I've got to have my 2 central defenders. So if we look at the whites, they're set up in a 4-3-3 system, because that's my preferred style. So if we're going to work on playing out from the back, which players are imperative? Well, I need these 2 central defenders. I certainly want these 3 midfield players and the 2 fullbacks. And I may get away with saying, well, I want 1 player up top. Yeah, I might not, but I put them in. So if we're going to put these players as being primary players and really important playing out from the back, then obviously I'm going to need opponents that are going to replicate that and play against them. So if you look, I'll just take them out for a moment. So the players in this half of the pitch, if I'm going to work on playing out, is imperative. So if you look in terms of the numbers, and we go, the team playing out from the back, I've got a goalkeeper and a back four, that's 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got 8 in possession, playing out from the goal. And then I've got the opposition, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So if you've got a squad of 14 players, a lot of people would argue, well, I can't do 11v11. Do you need to do 11v11? Most people will have 14 players, and you'll say, okay, that's what you do. So then your practice is realistic and relevant to the numbers you've got. Think about those. And now it's about designing, well, where does it practice end? Do I put some mini goals that may replicate players? Do I have to run it over the line? So we talk about practice design and make it realistic. Some people would try and sort of maybe make it unrealistic to favour them and maybe do that if they had 14 players. And you'd say, well, who's marking him? Or who's marking her? You know, so it's just about designing the practice so it's realistic and relevant to what's going to happen. So people might now say, well, I've got 15 players. So you might want to bring in another player. They might have 16. You go, well, who would come in? Yeah. If they've only got 15, is it a case of you go, we'll add that player and we will make them a target for the team playing out. When it goes into him or her, practice is dead. And instead of keep going back to the start, because we tend to do that when we're in our early stages of development and coaching, we might get that when the ball is played here and the whites play out and find them, then it's automatically fed back in and the yellows get a chance to attack. Because more importantly, when the ball does come in here, it's going to be more realistic to the game. So there's an example of, hopefully people would have some idea of that before they come on the course, if they can think about the realism that they need to replicate the 11v11 game. And obviously, if you've got the numbers, if you haven't got the full complement of numbers, then how can I design my practice? So there's one example, okay? So just another example, it may well be I need to work on stopping the other team playing out from the back. Well, that in itself is conducive to exactly that. Same area of the field of play. Now, other people go away and go, I don't always have half a pitch. So all these things are taken into account and consideration. Other players may say, well, my left back and my left wing don't combine and they don't know how to overlap. So it might be something where we go, okay, that practice is for playing out or maybe stopping teams playing out. Let's develop a practice now where we've got that on this side. So what players would be conducive if I need to work on the left side of the team going towards the goal? So I'm going to work on some combination playing wide areas or developing playing wide areas. Well, if I put a 3 on, I probably would need a 7 to play against him or her to make it realistic. Well, we've just added 2 players we haven't got. Well, what would you do? Well, I'd maybe take these 2 off and I'd make the pitch where it's going to be, and I'd probably just work in this area and then put a line in here. So the numbers that we have on this side of the play are realistic. So we've got our full-back, we've got our wide player, and we've got the players that are going to be relevant and prevalent in that area of the game. Yeah, it also could be done where I mix it up and then swap it round and go on the other side and then just portion that off. So it's just a few ideas. Years ago, we would have called this a functional practice, and the other one may be even called like a squad practice, stroke phase of play. So it's just replicating areas of the field of play to give some realism. And I have a saying that you get what you practice, so practice the game. So for me, it's really important. You know, a lot of coaches will just want to play small-sided games, and then we'll ask the question: yes, you might have 14 players and play 7v7. How relevant and realistic is that going to be to your 11-a-side on a Sunday? So it's just posing some questions. No one's saying you can't play small-sided games. And if you did have 14 players and you was involved with 7-a-side, fantastic, because you can work on 7v7. and it may well be that people play nine-a-side. So we help them with their practice design. We don't tell them what to do. We give them the ideas, and then it's up for the coaches to come up, design a practice, because for me that's the biggest failing that we struggle with, is designing practices. But by the end of block one, they'll have a good idea of that, and then when you get your first visit, I'm always saying what you're going to put your session on. I don't tell them what you're looking for, what you're going to bring out the session. But obviously, because we would have spoke about philosophies and we would have talked about practice design on that first session, and we'd like to think that whatever practice they decided to work on, whether it be playing out from the back, or it developing playing wide areas, or even defending in wide areas, that practice replicates something that's going to happen on a Saturday or Sunday, whether they play 7, 9 or 11-a-side.
Perfect. Well, like I say, a lot of stuff in there to touch upon. I think really one of the main points of view that you're speaking about is just the realism within the game. If you'd like you say, if you don't have enough players, you can cut off a third of the pitch, or you're splitting in quarters. If you don't have your left back or your right winger there, right, you cut it off. So that's kind of a dead zone, because you know in a game you're not going to get that space. So it's not really relevant if you have it there and you say they can use it, when in a game it comes Sunday and they're closed down within 3 seconds rather than 10 seconds like in the game. So really great, some of the stuff you went to. Just to kind of finish it off, I guess I'm going to be on the UEFA B. Fingers crossed it starts soon with everything going on, but we'll play it by a little bit. And Colin's going to be my tutor throughout. He's got the joy of having me. So that'll be interesting to see how we do. But I'm sure we'll go well with everything. So if you guys like to see more of this, just kind of let us know. We're going to keep podcasts going. I think each block or twice a block, we'll do a few things about what we've learned, a recap for you guys. If you're like myself, if you're on one, or you're thinking about getting one on next year or whenever, it's going to be a good base to keep going back to. And Colin mentioned his YouTube channel. I'd highly recommend it. It's got some great practice designs on there, but he was also saying about the formations on the pitch. In modern day, you have to be quite adaptable. You can't just stick to your 4-4-2 or whatever you like, 4-3-3. You have to know how to interchange it. And that's a really good place to start your learning. That's where I started and keep going back to. So just keep your eye out for that, and Colin's website is going to go live. But overall, Colin, thank you for today.
Thank you. And like you said, what we could do, as you mentioned it, as you hopefully when we start your UEFA B, then maybe you could, if you wanted to do a blog on what you've done on it, that might be a good example, a good idea. And I would suggest to coaches, whatever sessions they're doing, if they start to record the sessions, plan their sessions around their games, and if they have got any intentions of doing a B licence, at a future date, that they get into good practice by planning their sessions, why they're doing it, what sort of things they're going to work on, what principles of play incorporated into that, what the technical aspects. Also, how did the game go? So having planned your session, what was the feedback or the review of the session, how it went? How did the game go? And what do you think you might need to do that next week to tinker to improve what you've worked on? So that's some advice I'd give out to coaches who will be thinking about getting on their B licenses, thinking about the philosophy and how they like the game being played, and just accumulating some evidence around their thoughts, and maybe talk about profiling or what they think their players need to play in certain positions. But that's the recommendations I would give, and I look forward to mentoring you when we do indeed start. But yeah, I would like to mention, guys, there's a lot of people out there that are very good. They always want to talk about the 11v11. So I've got some things on the Colin Reid YouTube channel. So again, Colin Reid, football coach. There's going to be various systems on there. We've already put some things up on there. But what I don't want the coaches to forget, because coaches nowadays are very much into systems and everything else. And like I say, each time I deliver a session, systems don't win games. It's the players that win games. So it's really important to have a technical understanding of the components, technical components of what do I need to be good if I'm going to run with a ball? What do I need to do if I'm going to be good at dribbling? If I'm a defender, where do I mark? What side? I play in midfield. How do I intercept? You know, what positions do I take up? What things do I need to know? So that technical detail is imperative. And like I said, been filming some stuff on that. And if any of you viewers have got any interest in individual and technical stuff, then we'll point you towards that on the next podcast. Maybe even give you a sight of it, because I've put together something many years ago now in terms of the in possession, the out of possession, all the technical details of the 8 things you can do with a ball, passing and receiving, running with the ball and dribbling, turning, shielding, stroke, protecting, and finishing. You know, so that's shooting and heading. So all that technical detail I've put together, many practices, which I think a lot of people have asked for over the years, hence why I put it together. And defensively, we talk about pressing. We show people how to press, how to cover, how to balance. We talk about intercepting. So that technical detail is massively important. And a lot of people say to me nowadays, where do we get that from? We see all this side of the game, the technical and tactical. We see it analysed on Sky Sports, but where do I really get hold of that tactical stuff? So if there's a need for you guys, just let us know on that, and then we can put some things out there, and it will certainly help if you're on your coaching journey with your level 1. It will definitely help with your level 2, or just generally with your team. But more importantly, when you come to your B licence and it's more about units and that, you still need to remember the importance of the individual detail. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on that. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if there's anything else that you'd like us to cover. And in time, I will be going around speaking to various people from the program that I've worked with. So that might be coaches, managers, technical directors. Give us your thoughts on what you want to see discussed. We look forward to hearing from you.
Perfect. Well, nice way to cap it all off. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. And like I say, when things get going again, we'll get more stuff out there. But go watch a few things on YouTube. Great stuff like we mentioned. And yeah, I'm sure we'll keep you updated as we go. So thank you guys for listening. And Colin, I'll speak to you soon.
All the best. Cheers, mate. Bye.
See you later.
Thank you, guys.